Hi, this is Magda from the Interiors Exteriors channel. In this episode, I'll show you a two-room apartment with a separate kitchen, which was bought on the secondary market, and the owner didn't decide on a full renovation, but instead adapted each room to suit their own needs.
Hi, my name is Kuba Grabarczyk, and today I have the great pleasure of inviting you to my apartment. This is a two-room apartment with an area of 48 square meters located in Warsaw's Służewiec district. I didn't do a major renovation in this apartment because I didn't want to spend many months on it or incur high costs. This apartment is a good example of how you can adapt a second-hand apartment to your own needs relatively quickly and at a low cost. I'm a regular viewer of wnetrzazewnetrzaofficial, so you'll find many inspirations in this apartment that I got from the channel. And you'll find my comments under almost every video.
The sponsor of this episode is Surfshark. We start as usual at the entrance, and right here we have hooks for jackets, a mirror on the other side, and further on, a net with a shelf for everyday shoes. On the wall behind it, there are two panels that hide the meters. And look how clever this solution is when the meters are inside and the panel can be flush with the wall. You can't feel the depth of this cabinet at all, and often those modern cabinets that hide various fuses or meters stick out a lot and intrude unpleasantly into the hallway space. But here that's definitely not a problem. Further in the corner, there's a laundry basket, and I'll tell you later in the episode why it's here and not in the bathroom. Here's the entrance to the kitchen, further on to the bedroom, and at the very end to the living room. And between them, built-in closets were made, also flush with the wall, and look how much they can hold, even though you really can't tell just by looking at them. Here we have a wardrobe for clothes, with a rod for jackets, a shelf for shoes at the bottom, and some extra shelves at the top for things that are used less often. There's also a lamp installed, so you can see everything well here, even though the hallway is generally dark. The other wardrobe, on the other hand, serves a more utility purpose. There's space here for taller items. As you can see, there are still marks from the shelves, but they were removed specifically to have convenient access to things like the vacuum cleaner or the ironing board. Higher up, however, the shelves are still there, and this part of the closet serves as a storage area. And pay attention to how the front looks from the inside. It's kind of wood-like. That's exactly how these closets used to look before. However, Kuba repainted them in this beautiful yellow shade, changed the handles, and thanks to that, the old built-in furniture looks very modern and matches this apartment. On this side of the hallway, there's an old little cabinet that Kuba found in the basement. It's a keepsake from the previous owners, and because of various scratches, Kuba initially planned to renovate it. However, it turned out that in everyday life, you don't really notice those small scratches at all, and this is a very common case. When we're choosing something in a store or moving into a renovated apartment, we pay attention to every detail and worry that something isn't perfect. But then, in daily use, those things really don't matter that much anymore. And little pieces of furniture with history, furniture or interior decorations like that, make the space feel more homely and more personal.
My great passion is professional footbag. It's a sport I've been training for over 20 years, and it also involves many trips to the World, European or Polish Championships. And in my apartment, I try to find a balance between posters that are purely decorative, which I like just for their visual appeal, and souvenir posters from various competitions I've participated in. In my living room, there's a poster from the 2009 World Championships in Berlin. And I think that this mix of posters, which are sentimental, and posters from contemporary artists, gives a nice sense of connection between what I really like and what looks really cool on the wall.
Souvenir items in the form of decorations have also found their place here on the shelf. Below, we have medals and trophies, here are favorite books, and above there are thank you notes, because Kuba is a bone marrow donor. And on this occasion, I would also like to warmly encourage you to register in the database. I've already done it. It may turn out that we can save someone's life, and it would be a shame not to take advantage of this opportunity. And we never know who might need this help. Maybe someone close to us, maybe even ourselves. That's why it's best to make sure from the very beginning that the donor base is as large as possible. Although the living room is not even 20 square meters, we can distinguish 3 functions here: a workspace, a dining area, and a relaxation zone. How is it possible that everything fits together so nicely here and looks so good? Pay attention to the choice of furniture. The wooden table is small and can be extended, but on a daily basis it doesn't take up much space at all. The upholstered chairs next to it are very low, barely sticking out above the tabletop. Here we have a sofa with legs, which makes it look a bit lighter visually. The table also just has 4 legs, no shelves underneath. It has a very light form, and the same goes for the armchair. See, it's really small. Thanks to choosing furniture that is visually light and small in volume, small rooms can actually look really spacious by keeping the proportions of the walls in relation to the furniture. And at the same time, we maintain full ergonomics because small furniture allows us to move freely between them. And if, instead of this small armchair, we put a big wingback chair here, this room would look completely different. Many people dream of having a wide seat in a big window, but if you can't have what you love, you have to love what you have. And on a narrower windowsill, placed a bit higher, you can also spend time pleasantly. All you need to do is put some pillows down and you can relax with a view of the greenery. There's no point in waiting for dreams to come true on their own. Sometimes it's better to just make them happen. One of the features that were already in this apartment are the curtain rails, as well as their covers. Look how nicely this is done. The rails curve at the ends, creating an elegant finish, and the covers look like they're made of wood. Actually, I think they're made of polyvinyl chloride, but from a distance, you definitely can't tell what material it is. And to be honest with you, for a long time I thought they were just made of wood. Still, I think it's a great inspiration. I've often shown you different covers for rails made of drywall, but maybe it's worth considering something wooden instead. That can look nice too. The colorful shapes painted on the walls also have a huge impact on the style of the living room. It's a great way to bring color into our interior in a more subtle way than painting the whole wall or even all the walls. And by choosing the shape, we can also influence the character of the room. And notice how the colors have been chosen here. They match the upholstery of the chairs perfectly. In this apartment, there wasn't a thorough renovation, so sometimes the outlets are in rather random places, sometimes overly visible, like here, where the outlet is also at eye level, so it really stands out. To camouflage it, of course, you could just get rid of it completely and smooth out the walls, forgetting that there are any wires inside. However, a much nicer solution is what Kuba decided to do: replace the outer part of the outlet, the frame, with a more decorative one, which makes it look really nice. And if you ever need to use that outlet, it's still available. It's always nice to have a beautiful workspace, but when it comes to a desk in the living room, it's especially important. And that's why Kuba, while maintaining functionality, also made sure to add a few more aesthetic elements here, which make the desk look much nicer on a daily basis. And here, for example, it's worth noticing the keyboard with colorful buttons, which is really original, and a simple trick, a headphone holder, so they don't end up scattered all over the desk creating visual chaos, but instead hang neatly in their place. And since we're already talking about the computer, I'd like to ask you if you're familiar with the product from the sponsor of today's episode, which is Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is a VPN application that allows you to ensure greater privacy while using the internet, protecting your data from unwanted tracking, which can be important. For example, when using public Wi-Fi. And that's not all, because with Surfshark you can also enjoy other features that will make your online experience more comfortable. Each of us will appreciate it a little differently depending on our needs. One of the key features is the ability to change your location online, so you can pretend to be in a different country than you actually are. Thanks to this, you can access content that is not currently available in the country you are currently in. I remember when I was on vacation abroad and I wanted to watch Kuchenne Revoluție on Player, and it just wasn't possible. If I had Surfshark back then, I could have avoided that problem. Each of us has our favorite shows and series, and it's nice to have constant access to them. And even on YouTube, sometimes certain content isn't available in some countries, which happens, for example, in cases of copyright disputes, especially with the most controversial episodes. That's why if you follow online drama, you can be one step ahead. With Surfshark, you can bypass such blocks and enjoy full access to content that would normally be blocked for you. But entertainment isn't the only benefit of Surfshark. For many people, issues related to online security are crucial. A VPN takes care of your data by encrypting it while you use the internet, helping to protect it from theft. This is especially important if you sometimes use public, unsecured Wi-Fi networks, which can be very helpful, especially during certain trips abroad when using roaming could bankrupt us. What's more, Surfshark also offers features that block ads and pop-up windows, which can make using the internet annoying. And if you want to try out Surfshark, now is a good time, because I have 4 extra months of free use for you. Go to surfshark.com/wnetrza and use the code wnetrza when placing your order. I'll leave the link for you in the video description. And now let's get back to exploring the apartment. The color scheme in the bedroom is more subdued. Look how nicely the patterned bedding is contrasted with the rust-colored pillows, and the composition is completed by the dark bedspread. On the wall we have color, underneath it a wooden headboard, and there, notice again, there's an outlet in an unexpected place, and it also has
a beautiful cover.
On this side of the bedroom, there's a big wardrobe covering the entire wall with mirrored sliding doors, and in this part, there's space for clothes. Here, we have 2 rods, and at the same time, we can compare the parquet, how it looks after sanding and renovation, and how it looked before, since inside the wardrobe, it hasn't been renovated. In this other section, there are shelves and a drawer. And here, notice that drawers with sliding fronts often have the problem of getting stuck if you don't make sure to move the fronts all the way to both sides. That's why it's not necessarily the most convenient solution, and it's worth making drawers, for example, in the form of baskets that don't go from edge to edge, but are a bit narrower, giving us more room for error when opening the doors. This part is more technical, used for storing various things, while at the end here, interesting items are kept, like an extra heater that's useful before the heating season starts, when it gets cold, but the regular radiators aren't warm yet, and a portable air conditioner. It's a very interesting thing. When it's not possible to install an air conditioner permanently, you can go for a device like this. It's not perfect. It vents the heat outside through a hose, so the window has to be slightly open. You install a special seal so that the heat from outside doesn't get inside, but obviously it's neither perfect nor very convenient to use. That's why I can't recommend this solution to you 100%, but it's definitely something worth remembering, because you never know what situations might come up, and it's better to know that you have this option just in case. You're probably wondering, since the drawer in the wardrobe is so inconvenient and Kuba keeps rarely used things in it, where does he keep his socks and underwear? And the answer here is very simple. Also in a drawer, just not in the wardrobe, but in the bed. At the entrance to the kitchen, the ceiling is lowered, but you don't really notice it at all because it's at a similar height to the doorway. And thanks to that, a storage loft was created, where a mattress for guests is hidden.
The kitchen is the room where I made the fewest changes because the previous owner renovated it about 10 years ago. I don't like everything about it, mainly the colors, or rather the lack of them, and its overall decor isn't really my style. A few practical things don't really work out, like the white sink or the corner cabinet, which isn't very practical because it's very hard to reach the things that are in the back. I mainly store things I rarely use here, and right at the front there's a trash bin for paper. But despite these drawbacks, it's still very functional, and I think leaving it as it is was a very good solution because it's economical, ecological, and there was no need to destroy something that was relatively good just to put in a kitchen after a major renovation that would only be slightly different. Great.
What's great is that even though the kitchen is small, there's enough space for a table and 2 chairs, so you can easily have a meal here without having to go all the way to the living room. Of course, the living room is nice, but sometimes we just want to sit here for a quick meal, while the living room is more for hosting someone, for example. As for the kitchen cabinets and the fridge, well, you can already see the fridge, and under the countertop there's a cabinet, a pull-out pantry, and 3 drawers with the top one for cutlery. The corner cabinet is fully open. Below the oven there's a drawer. Here is the cabinet under the sink with the trash bin, and at the end the dishwasher. And interestingly, some of these lower drawers, like the pull-out pantry, aren't actually for kitchen items. Cooper keeps various accessories there, for example medicines that don't necessarily have to be in the kitchen, because it turns out that the upper cabinets are enough. Look how beautifully the supplies are displayed here in these jars, and in these 3 cabinets Cuba stores dishes, and it turns out that even such a small kitchen can be fully sufficient. And although many people feel that when there aren't a lot of cabinets, things inside are crammed tightly and there's never enough space for kitchen accessories. As you can see, you can have a more minimalist style, and it can definitely be just right. What definitely deserves appreciation in this kitchen is the very deep countertop by the window. In my kitchen, for example, in this spot they put a sink and a drainer. So not only do I end up working, doing things, cooking while standing either sideways or with my back to the window, but I also cast a shadow on whatever I'm doing. What else? Because there's a sink, the space behind it just goes to waste. It could just be a regular windowsill for plants, but I can't use it for any work anymore. Here, on the other hand, we have a whole deep countertop, which is super convenient. It's easy to move things around, there's plenty of space to work, and on top of that, it's very nicely lit. I think that preparing breakfast here with a view of the trees is very pleasant. All the costs related to furnishing and adapting this apartment amounted to $65,500 PLN. The bathroom is the only room that underwent a thorough renovation, and the cost of doing the bathroom was almost half of that amount, just under $30,000 PLN. Unfortunately, not everything went according to plan. The bathroom renovation was done in a big rush so that we could live here comfortably as soon as possible, and rushing doesn't help avoid various, even minor mistakes. And that's why I'll share 2 things with you here, to make you aware so you don't make similar choices in your own home, because even though you can live with them, they might not be the best option for you in the future. You can assess for yourselves. First, the shower screen's proximity to the sink. As shown, it's not excessively close in this case. From this angle, there's access to the cabinet from the side. You can reach in, wipe the glass or the cabinet. There's no problem with keeping it clean. However, because the bathroom is cramped and the sink is small, it's easy to bump your elbow against the glass when using it. See, when I want to touch my head, even just to comb my hair, I already bump into it here, and it can definitely be frustrating. So for brushing or drying your hair, it's better to move further away from the sink. It can be solved, but obviously, if you're looking for comfort, it's better to make sure the glass is foldable or simply placed further from the sink if the bathroom space allows for it. Before the renovation, the toilet was at an angle and there was a washing machine in this spot. Kuba wanted the toilet bowl to be placed straight, not at an angle, but according to the design made at the home improvement store, there shouldn't be a problem and a small washing machine should still fit here. The thing is, the design didn't take into account the final items chosen, like the toilet bowl, which ended up being bigger than the one used for the store's project. So, when the renovation was finished and it was time to think about the washing machine, it turned out that no washing machine would fit here. It's quite a big problem, which Kuba will probably solve by putting the washing machine in the kitchen, although some changes in the bathroom are also being considered. You can remodel this part of the bathroom or just replace the toilet bowl with a smaller one. There are different solutions, but for now Kuba has found a completely unconventional one. He simply takes his clothes to the laundromat in the neighboring building, and that's why a laundry basket in the hallway is absolutely suitable for this.
Solution fits.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. Months. See you next time. Bye-bye.